Greetings and thank you for joining me today for this presentation of the NetApp Snap Creator framework. Today we're going to be discussing Snap Creator 4.0 configuration file creation using the Snap Creator GUI. Specifically, we'll show how to use the Snap Creator configuration wizard to create new configurations within your Snap Creator environment. To access the Snap Creator GUI, open your web browser of choice, and in the address bar, type the IP address or host name of your Snap Creator server, and the port number that you selected during setup. Once the GUI page is loaded, provide the username and password that you supplied during setup. If this is your first visit to the Snap Creator server, you'll be prompted with a welcome message. This welcome message gives you information about Snap Creator profiles and configuration files. Once you read the message, simply click OK, and you'll be prompted to create your first new profile. As it mentioned on the previous screen, profiles are used as organizational tools for your configuration files. They're essentially folders, and you can organize your configuration files in any way that you like. Some common ways could be to organize your configurations by application or database name. Perhaps you want to organize them by department or division within your organization. Or if you're running a multi-tenant environment, you can name your profiles with tenant names. Once the profiles are created, you can use our role-based access controls to provide access to individual profiles. To begin, I'll create my new profile name. I'll name it by application. I'll select Domino and click OK. This is going to direct me to the Snap Creator Framework configuration wizard. This wizard will walk us through the process of creating a configuration file in Snap Creator. This wizard will not give us all of the possible options, but it will present us with the most common options and get us up and running with a working configuration file as quickly as possible. Click Next to begin. The first thing that we need to do is name this configuration file. Usually we're going to name it by a host name or application name. In this case, I'm going to be backing up my Tampico Domino server. So I'm going to call this configuration Tampico. Password encryption is enabled by default. We do recommend keeping this selected as it will prevent you from storing any passwords in plain text. At any time, you can hover your mouse over any parameter and you'll be presented with a helpful tooltip. Click Next to continue. Choose a plugin type. With Snap Creator, we have 3 plugin types, or you can choose no plugin at all. If you're using a common application, such as DB2, Domino, MaxDB, Snap Creator contains pre-packaged plugins for those applications and databases. We also have several virtualization plugins for Red Hat KVM, Citrix Zen, and VMware, both for vCloud Director and vSphere. We also have a few community plugins for Snap Creator. These are plugins that are available on our Snap Creator communities. They are not supported by NetApp, but they are still integrated into the GUI. Examples are InterSystems Cache, Informix, and PostgreSQL. Optionally, you can choose none. So if you do not want to use one of these pre-packaged plugins, if you want to create your own workflow within Snap Creator, you do not need to select a plugin. For this example, I'll select an application plugin and click Next. And I'm going to choose to use the IBM Domino plugin. Regardless of what plugin you choose, the next screen will present you with the list of parameters that are needed to configure that plugin. This list of parameters will be completely different for each plugin. Once you have your parameters completed, click Next to continue. You're prompted for an agent IP address or host name. This is the location where the Snap Creator agent is running. You'll also need to supply the port that the Snap Creator agent is listening on. The default port is 9090, but that is fully customizable at setup. In addition, there is a timeout value. This is listed in seconds. The default timeout value is 300, but some plugins do recommend higher timeout values. For Domino, it's 3600. There is no harm in setting a value higher than the minimum recommended. That just means that the agent will wait for a longer period of time before terminating the connection with the server. Click Test Agent Connection. This will reach out to the agent to see if it's listening. Click OK, and then click Next to continue. Now we're prompted for our storage connection settings. In this case, I'll be using HTTPS, and I will be using Clustered ONTAP. Click Next. You will only see this screen if Clustered ONTAP is selected. Provide your cluster IP address or hostname, your cluster user, and your cluster password. It is recommended to create a user and role specifically for the use of Snap Creator in all storage environments. Click Save. If needed, you can add additional cluster credentials by clicking the Add button. You will also need to select a primary cluster. Click Next to continue. In the event that you're using a 7-mode system, you'll be sent directly to this screen and you'll be supplying controller credentials. Since I'm using Cluster Data ONTAP, I'll be submitting vServer credentials. Enter your controller or vServer IP address or hostname, user, and password. Click Next. This will reach out to your controller or vServer and get a list of all of the volumes present on that system. Select the volumes that you wish to manage as part of this configuration file. In this case, I'm using my Tampico system. So I want my DOM TXN, my DOM data, and my DOM deos. You can simply drag and drop like I just did, or you can use the arrow keys in the middle, selecting a volume, and then clicking the arrow button to send it over to the other pane. Once you've made your selections, click Save. Additional controllers or vServers can be added by clicking the Add button. You can also edit your existing selections, or you can delete. Click Next to continue. Now we need to name our snapshot copy. This is quite often the same as the configuration name, but you can customize it if you like. You'll also need to select a snapshot copy policy. For example, if I want to keep 14 days worth of snapshots, once you've made your selections, click Next to continue. There are additional options available. One that we highly recommend for the Domino plugin is to set Ignore Application Errors to Yes. Once you've made your selections, click Next to continue. Snap Creator can also integrate with Snap Mirror or Snap Vault relationships. We should note that Snap Creator does not create nor initialize Snap Vault or Snap Mirror relationships. Any selections that you make at this point will generate additional dialog boxes. Make your selections and click Next to continue. Snap Creator can also integrate with NetApp On Command. Again, any selections that you make here may generate additional dialog boxes. Click Next to continue. Finally, you're presented with a summary of the selections that you've made. Review them and click Finish to complete the creation of your configuration file. Click OK. Now I need to expand my profile, and I can see my newly created Tampico configuration file. All of the settings as well as additional settings are available in the Configuration Content pane. This is a tabbed view of your configuration file, and changes can be made and saved right here within the Snap Creator GUI. For example, to enable log trace, I just select Yes and save. The configuration files again have information on your connection settings, your volumes, your snapshot settings, Snap Mirror and Snap Vault settings, clone settings, optional on-command integration, archive log management, a plugin-specific tab, an agent tab, event settings, And finally, additional commands, such as pre and post commands. Clicking the Actions button gives you a list of potential actions that you can run against this configuration file. To test out this configuration file, I'll start by clicking the Backup button. I'll choose a policy that I defined during the configuration creation, daily, and click OK. The console pane at the bottom of the screen displays real-time output as to what Snap Creator is doing. We'll increase the size of this pane so we can get a better look. This console output is the same as the output logs. On screen we can see that we validated the agent, validated the plugin, run any kind of pre-application quiesce command, and then we started quiescing our application. With Snap Creator, quiesce and unquiesce terminology are meant as general terms, meaning any kind of steps that we need to take in order to put a database or application into a consistent state. This may actually be a quiesce operation, it may be hot backup mode, it may be write suspend mode, it may be calling application-specific APIs. In this instance, we're quiescing our database, no errors are encountered, database quiesce finished successfully. We'd run any kind of post commands that we need to run. Then we step into the NetApp specific commands. We generate auto support information. We rename snapshots if necessary. Then we create new snapshots on each of our volumes. When that's complete, we run our application unquiesce steps, finish successfully, run any kind of post-application unquiesce commands, generate any additional auto support information, act on any snapshot retention policies, and finally, Snap Creator Framework completed successfully. That's a quick look at configuration file creation, editing, and a backup job. For more information about Snap Creator, visit our forums at www.netapp.com/snapcreator. Or visit our Snap Creator developers community at www.snapcreator.com.